Hey everybody, welcome to the Sportsnet Fantasy Extra. I'm Andy McNamara and you're watching on youtube.com/Sportsnet. We'll get to some early NFL Week 12 waiver wire pickups, some ads, some people to avoid as well, and also a peek back at Week 11 around the National Football League. Lots of fantasy football storylines, as there always is. And I told y'all to go get Deebo Samuel on the fantasy show that you can catch across the Sportsnet radio network every Sunday morning. I had my bold prediction, okay? I put on the crystal ball and said, sit Kenny Golladay, sit Mike Williams, play Deebo Samuel for the 49ers. That's what I did on my fantasy team, and it paid off. Emmanuel Sanders, as expected, was not at full go with that rib injury, missed a lot of the game. You had George Kittle sitting out as well, and Deebo Samuel feasted second straight game of well over 100 yards, went for 21.4 fantasy points in PPR formats. No touchdowns yet, but the target share, 246 receiving yards and 16 catches over the last two games. He's become a fast favorite of Jimmy Garoppolo. And even with Sanders back and Kittle, he's proven himself as that safety valve guy that Jimmy G can go to. So you can still look, and Deebo Samuel, he's going to be available in just about 50% of fantasy leagues still. So if you can get him, go get him. And for DFS formats, he's going to be a cheaper buy than Sanders or Kittle. So that was just a note from Sunday there. And keep an eye as well on George Kittle and his health. He's trending towards playing Ross Dwelley. We predicted it on the show, myself and Matt Marquez. We said, watch, Ross Dwelley's going to go for 2 touchdowns and like 4 yards. And that was only a slight exaggeration. Very touchdown dependent, did the job. Maybe you took him as a contrarian play in some DFS, but you're not going to rely on a Ross Dwelley. We'll get to some tight ends that you should pick up and look at a little bit later on, though. Let's go, though, to the Atlanta Falcons. And I was, as right as I was with Deebo Samuel, boy, Brian Hill sure let us all down. Then he was the hottest waiver wire acquisition for the Atlanta Falcons, with Devontae Freeman being out, with Austin Hooper being out. He's a true dual threat back. He can catch. He did it for a touchdown the week before. He looked explosive through the tackles. Last week, he was sluggish. He didn't do much of anything in Atlanta's game on Sunday, and that was a huge disappointment. It just harkens me back just a couple weeks when everybody was all over Ty Johnson of the Lions, with Kerryon Johnson out, and Ty Johnson was caught up in a committee situation. But this is different because Hill was given the ball. Hill was given the chance to ride it and to succeed. It went for 15 carries, just 30 yards, 1 8-yard catch. That's it. So Brian Hill, now it looks like the Falcons are going to go to a full committee situation because you can't trust Hill. And so they're just going to see what happens. And that's so disappointing because you probably did spend a high waiver wire priority and a lot of fab dollars. I don't blame you. I tried to as well. Someone outbid me, thank goodness, in my league, right? Like, that's where we're at when it comes to fantasy football running backs. You try, and it didn't work out. It was disappointing. It didn't work out. Also, what about Tom Brady and the Patriots? Like, start of the year, very fantasy relevant with Brady. Always flies under the radar a little bit. We all know Brady, but fantasy-wise, not necessarily the guy you go to first. But he was popping. He is looking very much 42 years old, folks. Very much 42 years old. You wonder if we're seeing the end of Tom Brady right now. He hasn't hit 20 or more fantasy points since week 6. Since week 6, solely depending on the defense, on a sporadic running game, a hodgepodge there. So Tom Brady in real life is still a damn good quarterback, obviously, right? Still the smartest guy in the game, but fantasy-wise, you can't count on him, man. You cannot count on Tom Brady. Another note from Sunday, Lions running back by committee. Raise your hand if you saw Bo Scarborough scoring a touchdown. Did that get into anyone's mind's eye? Bo Scarborough? No. You know why? Because he was activated from the practice squad on Saturday, and Matt Patricia continues to troll us poor fantasy football owners. He did it when Ty Johnson was supposed to be the bell cow, committed it up. Then all of a sudden, Bo Scarborough, from the practice squad, goes off, scores a touchdown. Bo scores a touchdown. He doubled the snaps. Doubled, okay? Two times, doubled. the snaps of Ty Johnson and J.D. McKissic. Well, what are you supposed to do with that? He's available in 99% of Yahoo leagues. 99%. If you started him somewhere, then you got some inside information. Because that was in there, that was fine, but you cannot trust Bo Scarborough. Look, if you got bench room, if you want to pick him up as a stash, I'm a big proponent of stashing running backs, and one or two if you have space, just to see if one pops or you get an injury. But this is a full-blown, gross committee with the Detroit Lions. Well, Scarborough could have a couple carries next week, or he could have the most. It is so unpredictable, and still, until we see any sort of rhythm, any sort of game plan flow from the Detroit Lions, you can't trust any of them. It's a dart throw. Like Matt Patricia is going full Bill Belichick, his mentor, of all right, I'm going to pick so-and-so, whoever, and I'm going to put them in, and they're going to be fine. So good on Bo Scarborough, but wow. Like 55 yards on 14 carries, just under 4 yards a carry. He's not the most explosive, and that's why I don't think he's going to be some revelation. Goal line, bulldoze and pound it type of guy. Yeah, I can see that. I almost picture him a little bit more of like a LeGarrette Blount from back in the day. You know, he's not going to be dynamic in space, but he can get you those yards and kind of grind away at you. But who knows if he's going to have that opportunity to grind away, or if Ty Johnson's or J.D. McKissic is going to get the touches next week. So very frustrating there. But Bo Scarborough, the I did not see that coming moment of Week 11 in the NFL. And to continue with running backs here, what is going on? What's up with David Johnson? What's up with David Johnson? We're talking about coaches trolling the fantasy world. Kliff Kingsbury screws us again with David Johnson. You start him now. Before the game, he gave us a little hint, right? He said that David Johnson, quote, will be part of the running game plan. Well, the hint was that Kenyon Drake was going to be the starter and get the workload. The deception was that David Johnson was going to be a part of it at all. He got 0 touches. 0. None. Not one touch. Why is he active? Is it gamesmanship? Is he trying to trick the other team? No, it didn't trick the 49ers, who ended up winning. Kenyon Drake had an okay day. He was fine. He was okay. But David Johnson is not well. He is clearly still injured, and I would not be surprised if at some point he gets put on the IR. Don't release him. Don't let him go. Hold on to him, obviously. But the guy you want to look to pick up, Arizona's going on the bye week. They return week 13. Chase Edmonds was almost ready to go with that hamstring injury. If he is right, that's the guy you want to go pick up, especially if David Johnson is injured. Kenyon Drake's done a nice job coming over via trade. He's been good. But Chase Edmonds, when he got his chance, remember earlier in the year, really just pounced on it. They got the hammy. So Chase Edmonds is somebody you want to pick up in your fantasy league on the waiver wire. Get a head start on it. Get a head start on it. Take a look if he's available. Get him now. Put him in the roster and wait, because he might work out week 13. He could work out in later weeks, but that's the type of guy. I would much rather take a chance on Chase Edmonds than a Bo Scarborough, because we've seen Edmonds do it, and it's going to be a situation where if David Johnson does get shut down for whatever reason for the injury now or later, you could have a nice little package deal there with Drake and Edmonds. So that's somebody to look up at that point. Looking at some early waiver wire options. N'Keal Harry for the Patriots. I mentioned Tom Brady really struggling. He had his first game of the season, the rookie. The Patriots did not spend a first-round pick on this guy for no reason. So he got in, eased his way in, right? He wasn't used aggressively in the game, had a light workload, but looked fine. He's going to get more comfortable. Now, Philip Dorsett left the game with a concussion. If he misses any time, his value goes way up. Even if Dorsett does come back, Dorsett's such a big boom or bust, touchdown-dependent type of player. N'Keal Harry is that big-bodied, giant target that Tom Brady was hoping, and Bill Belichick was hoping, that Josh Gordon would be. Well, N'Keal Harry is a younger, faster option than Josh Gordon at this time in his career. So get N'Keal Harry. Because you look at him, he is only owned in 12% of Yahoo leagues. You talk about some depth down the stretch for your fantasy team for a playoff push. What if this guy catches fire? Mohamed Sanu's the sexy name I know right now, but it's a different skill set with N'Keal Harry. Go grab him if you can. Don't drop anybody notable, but if you can get him, lock up N'Keal Harry. Going to the tight ends. Now, Evan Ingram started the week still in the injury report, not 100%. Coming out of that bye, the tight end position, we know George Kittle's banged up. We know Austin Hooper's going to miss a month. Here are two guys you're going to want to take a long look at and grab for your tight end spot. David Njoku, remember him for the Cleveland Browns? Had that wrist injury, hasn't played since week 2. He is cleared, he can be activated, expect him to play. Now, what should the expectations be week 1 against Miami? Does he get eased back in? Is he given a full workload? Baker Mayfield liked finding David Njoku. Now, he's had those drop issues. You also incorporate Kareem Hunt now into the offense, so it's going to be a little dicey. But you cannot ignore a low-end tight end 1 option. Njoku is a true starter. Might be a little inconsistent, but he's a true starter. You cannot ignore him. You've got to try to go get him, and you look at Njoku. Now he's available in pretty much everyone. In 82% of Yahoo leagues, he's still available. David Njoku. Another guy there, Jacob Hollister of the Seattle Seahawks. Who knew? Hey, they made Will Disley work. Poor guy out on the IR. Jacob Hollister, 29% ownership in Yahoo leagues. And this is why I tell you people, when you look at opportunity for longer as the season goes on, look for waiver wires, look for those hidden gems, those sleepers, those under the radar guys. Try to get players when they're on their bye week, because a lot of people ignore them. But for longer season plays, this is why. Seattle's coming off of the bye week. 29% ownership, widely available. Why are you looking at Jacob Hollister? Let's take a look at the numbers right here. Okay? 2 weeks before their bye, he combined 12 catches on 16 targets and 3 total touchdowns. Big double-digit, high teens, low 20s fantasy football stats in PPR. Now, the issue is he is very touchdown dependent because the yardage isn't there. But this is somebody that Russell Wilson was looking to move the chains. Red zone, you're in there, toss it up to the big guy. This is somebody you want to grab. Now, the incorporation of Josh Gordon, of course, DK Metcalf continues to do well. Tyler Lockett's been a stud. How much is he going to be used? All I'm saying is if you're in a pinch, go get Jacob Hollister. You could do worse. Darren Fells as well. That whole Houston Texans offense had a terrible week. So his stock is dropping. Darren Fells, still go grab him. Guy's a solid TE2. So many of these tight ends are touchdown dependent. Darren Fells is going to be someone that if you want to be cautious and maybe not start next week, at least grab him. So those are 3. Njoku, Hollister, and Fells. Go get him. Also, Darius Geis. Nice little introduction. Split time with Adrian Peterson, but he had a 45-yard touchdown catch and run. And as this season, the remainder of it goes on, they're going to want to see what they get out of Darius Geis. Now, maybe you don't give him the full bell cow workload, but he's owned in 47% of Yahoo leagues, still available. You can never have too much running back help. Darius Geis is somebody that could pop and did make a dynamic play. I wanted to see how he, coming off those 2 different knee injuries in 2 separate years, how was he dynamic? Do you still have that push? Looked pretty good to me, and he's going to be fresh. Always an injury factor with him, but he's somebody to go grab there. You have any fantasy football questions, make sure you hit me on Twitter at AndyMC81. Use hashtag AskAndy. This has been the Fantasy Extra on Sportsnet.